Well, hello, confirmands. I hope you are well. This is year 3, lesson 7. We get done with this one. We are 1/4 of the way done with confirmation for the year. It is just flying by. A few announcements before we get going. Again, please put your names on your homework. It's now fun for me to try to figure out, who, look at the pile of people, good children that put names on their homework and figure out, which bad child this is. Put your names on it. And then several of you appear to be having your pet chicken actually do the homework for you. The writing is so bad and so messy that it's very difficult for me to know if it's in English, much less whether or not you have the right information there. So if you're going to continue to use your pet chicken, please pay for penmanship lessons for said chicken. Otherwise, upgrade, the farm animal that you're having do your writing so that I can at least have a chance to read it. I'd appreciate that. All right, daily readings. We are in the Bible now for the rest of the year. You can put your Eggemeyers on the shelf. Ninth graders, you can put it away or give it to a little sibling. But we're in the Bible. We are the first 2 weeks in the Bible. We're in the Gospel of Mark. We're skipping Matthew, Luke, and John. We're going to hit those really hard in the Christ year, the life of Christ year 2. But this is year 3, and we're just doing one of the Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. We're just doing one of the Gospels so that you have the Jesus story sort of in your head as you go through the rest of the New Testament, where people are talking about what it means to be a follower of Jesus, how we're supposed to live, how we're supposed to treat one another, what we're supposed to do. So we're spending 2 weeks here at the beginning talking about or reading about the life of Jesus. Now, for those of you who are in 8th or 9th grade and read it all last year, you're going to be tempted to say, I know all this. Read it again. Every time you read it, you'll see something new. Every time you think about it, you'll think about something new. Read it again. Do it. And then we'll jump into the other parts of the New Testament, the non-gospel parts of the New Testament after that. So that's where we are. Remember, Mark is the name of the book. The big letters are the chapters. The little letters or the little numbers are the verses. Okay. So I think those are the announcements. So let's jump into the phrase that pays. The first 5 words of the phrase that pays: when God wants to speak. When God wants to speak. All right? So it's the 4th commandment. The 4th commandment is honor your father and your mother. What is this? What does this mean? We are to fear and love God so that we neither despise nor anger our parents and others in authority, but instead honor, serve, obey, love, and respect them. So says Martin Luther. And that's the stuff you should be memorizing, right? We are to fear and love God so that we neither despise nor anger our parents and others in authority, but instead honor, serve, obey, love, and respect them. Where do we get this out of the Bible? Well, we continue to be in Exodus 20. Remember, Exodus is in the Old Testament, second book of the Old Testament. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Right? 20 is the chapter. And then in the 12th verse it says, honor your father and your mother so that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. Exodus 20, verse 12. All right. If you're looking at the sheets, and remember, you're supposed to be printing these sheets and looking at them as you watch this video, that NRSV there, that's the translation. There are hundreds of Bible translations into English. The Bible was not written in English. It was written in Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic, and has been translated many, 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 many times. Why are there so many translations? Well, first, English is a living language. Words don't mean the same thing that they meant 30 years ago, much less 400 years ago, much less 1,000 years ago. So English is a living language, and we keep finding better manuscripts, and so we keep getting closer and closer and closer to what the authors wrote down. And translators make decisions in their translating. At what grade level, what reading level are we translating for? Right? There was a translation when I was a kid called Good News for Modern Man. That was at the 6th grade reading level. Well, there's a lot of stuff that you can't say at the 6th grade reading level, so they had to introduce a whole lot of other words and change a whole bunch of words. Is that a good translation? Sure, if you're a 6th grader. Is it something that you should be reading now? No. I mean, the youngest of you is in 7th grade, right? There are many other translations. We can talk about that if you want on Wednesday. But the one that we're using in our church is the NRSV, the New Revised Standard Version. Right? It's a good base translation, and we can talk about that as much or as little as you care. All right. Honor your father and your mother so that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. All right. The next 4 words of the phrase that pays, and deal with us. Let me put a comma there. And deal with us. Those are 4 words. So far, we're up to 9. If you're not up to 9, start over this video and figure out what you missed. All right. Let's do a quick review before we jump into this commandment. You'll understand why in a minute. Remember that this is all part of God's law. Stuff that you're supposed to do, stuff you're not supposed to do. Stuff that's commanded, stuff that's forbidden. And God gives us laws for the same reason that our parents do, right? God gives us laws to teach us what we should do, right? This is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. This is the path of life, this is the path of injury and death. But God also gives us the law to show us the limits of ourselves, right? When God says, do this, and we find that we're unable to do it, it drives us to our knees. It makes us repent. It makes us ask Jesus for forgiveness and for help, right? And the more you think about these laws, the more you're going to learn in your bones that you need Jesus, right? Because every time we go through these laws, I hope you're thinking, I don't keep that one very well. Or I'll keep that one for a couple of hours, but then I'll mess up. Or my consistency is bad. Or I'm about a C minus, D plus on keeping that one, right? That's right. So it's these 2 things that God wants you to know how you should live, what you should be doing, what you should be avoiding. And then God also wants you to know in your bones that there's this gap between God's laws and expectations and your performance. Remember, we did this for a whole video, right? And that gap is where you remember that you need Jesus. That you honor Jesus, that you follow Jesus, that you listen to Jesus, that you read Jesus' words, that you surround yourself with people who are also trying to follow Jesus, that you come to church, that you participate in the sacraments, because this gap is a problem, right? God says, this is what I expect, right? This is the behavior that will be part of the kingdom to come. And this is where you and me live, right? This is where you and I live. It's I there. We can explain that on Wednesday too. And so I need Jesus to help me get from there to there, and so do you. Okay? So that's why we're doing law. That's why this is important. Now, we divide the 10 Commandments into 2 tablets. You've seen the movie that Moses comes down the mountain with the 2 tablets. Most of that is just creative license, right? But for our purposes here, let's pretend that on the first tablet is stuff about our relationship with God. And on the second tablet is stuff about our relationship with our neighbor, with one another. So we've done, right, no other gods before me. We've done, don't make wrongful use of the name of the Lord your God. We've done, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. That's all first tablet stuff. That's on that first tablet of stone that Moses brought down. And again, we're pretending here, right? But it helps us understand the differences, the shift that we're in today. And then that second tablet starts with this commandment, that how are we supposed to live in the world? What's our relationship with one another to be? Starts with honor your father and mother. And it's a strange thing to think about, that at the very top of that second tablet, at the very top of that list of things about living in the world, is that you're supposed to learn to honor, and we'll get back to that word, your parents and all others in authority over you. That there is a way that you're supposed to live where you have gratitude and respect and obedience at a certain point in your life and in certain areas for those who have rightful authority over you, that the world just goes better, that your life will be better. Presumably you have friends that argue with their parents about everything, and their lives show it in some ways. I don't want to do my homework. I want to take drugs. I don't care when I go to bed. I don't care about taking care of my body. I'm going to eat Captain Crunch every day as long as I feel about it, and I'm never eating a fruit or a vegetable. I mean, you can imagine how life starts to look pretty quick after that. So on this second tablet of Moses' laws that he brings down the mountain, right, we got our duties to our neighbors, and we have at the very top your relationship with authority figures in your life. All right. So, and again, this is rightful authority. This is not dictators or kings or, these are people who have rightful authority over you. Your parents, your pastors, your teachers, police officers, judges. I mean, you can, coaches, you can put the list together, right? And again, it's always rightful authority. If your coach wants you to do something stupid, if your parents want you to help rob a liquor store, no, that's not what we're talking about. We'll get there, right? This is where we're starting. Now, sometimes when you're a young person, you might be dreaming about your future. You might be wondering, what you're going to do, who you're going to marry, where you're going to live, what your job's going to be. Some of you who are listening more carefully to Jesus, or who have found it in your heart that Jesus is supposed to be part of your future life, might be wondering what Jesus wants you to do, right? What work Jesus has for you. Some of you might even be wondering if Jesus has some great work for you. Is there something that you're supposed to accomplish for the kingdom of God? And you don't know what it is. You lay in your bed and you wonder about these things, but you know that there's something that God wants you to do, right? Luther would say, start right here. That before you can lead, you need to learn to follow. Right? Before you can be in charge, you need to learn what it means to have someone over you, so that you can learn all the things you need to know before you're given a position of leadership. And this is not just Luther, right? I mean, this is how the military talks, and this is how Jesus talks. There's places in the Bible where Jesus will say, for example, that the one who's faithful in small things will be entrusted with great things. That if you want to do something big in your life, start hammering and nailing down the little things in your life, right? There's schools of psychology, that talk about just deal with the stuff that you are supposed to be doing right now, right? Pick your clothes up off the floor, make your bed, right? Turn off the lights, keep your body strong, right? And as you nail down those little things, you're more and more able to take on big things, right? So this is Jesus, and if you wonder what work God has for you, if you wonder how to have a successful life, if you wonder how to have a life of purpose and meaning, right? Jesus, Luther, me, think that you should start right here. It's the first law on the second table of the Ten Commandments. So what do? Well, you gain awareness, right? You remember that you're not in charge yet. You remember that your teachers know more than you. So before you say that your algebra teacher's an idiot, or that everybody hates the chemistry teacher, right? And if there's teachers watching that, these are things pulled from my life, not things I'm hearing. I am grateful for your work, right? Before you start bad-mouthing any teacher anywhere about anything, remember that this person knows more than you. Now, they might be a bad teacher. There are bad teachers. And there are ways for you to deal with a bad teacher respectfully and well. Right? I'll help you with that. Your good teachers can help you with that. Right? There have been times in my life where I have had horrifically bad teachers, and I've gone to good professors, good teachers, and asked for help. And they will say, yes, there's a problem with this person. This is how you navigate this person. This is the flaming hoop that you have to jump. Right? And it's an awful thing, but it is real, and it prepares you for the real world. You are going to have bosses that you don't like. You are going to have roommates that you don't like. If you partner up sometime in your life, your partner is going to have friends that drive you batty. But you need to learn to deal with difficult people. You need to learn to have integrity and strength and grace in the midst of someone that is not handling their authority well, right? And there are people who will help you through that, around that. So gain awareness that you're not in charge and that there are people around you that do have authority and that we're grateful for them, right? That we're grateful for the police. It's a little scary when you're driving and a police car pulls in behind you. I am grateful every day for cruise control, right? I use cruise control continuously. so that I don't have to worry about speeding. But I wonder, are my lights out? What's going on? I'm grateful for the police, and you should be cultivating that. No names for the police, certainly not any bad names for the police. Right? Gratitude for your teachers, gratitude for the administration, gratitude for your parents and your grandparents, gratitude for people in this community that make stuff happen. Right? I mean, someone is setting up the soccer league, someone is doing extra work to make musicals happen, someone is hiring and supervising coaches, someone is making sure that the streets are clean, someone is making sure that the lights work at night, someone is making sure that lights are on in our buildings and in our homes. Right? So I want you to be cultivating awareness that your life is supported by an incredibly large net of people who are doing work. You're never going to meet most of them. You're never going to know most of them. You're never going to be able to get to the place where you understand fully what all these people are doing for you. But I want you to be aware, right? That when you drive on a well-paved street, that you're aware that someone did that for you, and someone, not you, paid for it. When you're out and about and the stoplights are working, I want you to be aware that someone is keeping those things operating, that someone designed the city or the town, and that there are other people working to make that happen. The snowplow guys, I mean, it's an enormous list of people that make your life possible. Different governmental agencies, the military, that most of the time we're not even aware of the sacrifices these people are making. They work absolutely invisibly to us. Right? We eat fruit that was grown on trees that we didn't plant. We live in buildings that we didn't build. We go to schools that we're not paying for. And you need to become more and more and more aware. Instead of all that's wrong, instead of being cynical, instead of being dour, instead of having a bad attitude, I want you to start looking around and saying, I am at the bottom of a funnel where thousands of people are pouring their resources and their gifts and their energies into this funnel that's nourishing, supporting, and caring for me. Again, you can't possibly get to the end of the list of people who have supported you and are supporting you right now, much less the dead who set up this world, this nation, this country, this community in which we live and in which we have the audacity to be ungrateful. And so I want you to practice awareness. I want you to practice gratitude, right? Some of the happiest people I know have gratitude disciplines, right? Where you lay in bed at night and instead of rehearsing, who said what bad thing to you and how you're going to get them back, right? What would your life be like if every time you lay down in bed, you said your prayers, and then as you're drifting off, you just list things that you're grateful for? Right? I'm grateful for the meatloaf we had for dinner. I'm grateful that my coach shows up to practice. I'm grateful that my family has enough money so that I have track shoes. I'm grateful that I live in a country where I don't have to have a job where I can go to school. And, little things. I'm grateful for squirrels. They make me laugh. Right? I'm grateful for the flashes of color of the birds. I'm grateful for a vista where I can look out at green rolling hills and the coppery colors of fall, and the blue sky that God has given us, and the white clouds. Right? God has given us a beautiful world. Right? Practice gratitude, and put your parents on that list. That your mom and your dad, your mom, that they gave you life. And then there have been people trying to sustain your lives. And in split custody families, it can be messy and hard to be grateful sometimes. Right? But there are adults over you who at different levels of success are pouring themselves out for you, right? Practice forgiveness and grace. That as you learn to interact with the people over you, work on forgiving them, because someday you might be one of these people and you are going to make mistakes, and you're going to have to know how to apologize, and you're going to have to count on your children, your employees, your neighbors, your parishioners if you're a pastor, right? The citizens, if you're a politician, forgiving you and rightly balancing whether or not you're more trouble than you're worth. So work on forgiveness, work on grace. If things aren't right, remember that you're not right. You're driving down the street that's full of potholes. Instead of, these stupid city guys, they don't do anything, it's just horrible. Remember, first, you're not paying those guys yet, right? That every street you ride on is a gift to you. Second, that they're trying to do more and more with less and less resources as things are tight. Third, that they're working on something somewhere else and there's people supervising them. And if the supervision of the guys who do the streets is bad, then you deal with this layer. But the guys in the middle who are laying down streets and who go home smelling like that horrible tar smell every day, nothing but gratitude for those guys. Because you don't want to do it, I don't know how to do it, right? But they're getting it done. So we're working on awareness, gratitude, forgiveness, and grace. Now, Luther was a very colorful guy. I mean, sometimes your parents and grandparents think I'm a little too colorful. I am absolutely vanilla milk toast compared to Luther. Luther was very colorful. Here's an example from his large catechism. Remember, there's two catechisms, a small one and a large one. The small one is smaller, right? So the large one takes everything in the small catechism and does a chapter on it instead of 2 sentences on it. You should read the large catechism. I'll get you one if you want one, or you can download it online for free. Okay, so here's what Luther says about this commandment, right? Everyone ought to think what his parents did for him, right? Again, we're talking about awareness, gratitude, right? Forgiveness and grace. So read with me while I read. Everyone ought to think what his parents did for him. He who does think of this will find that he received his body and life from his parents, and also that he was fed and reared by them, without which care he would have choked 100 times over in his own filth. Therefore it has well and truly said by wise old people, one can never adequately thank and repay God, one's parents, and one's teachers. Right? Even if your parents have done a bad job, let's say you got C- parents. Someone changed your diapers. You would have died if they hadn't. Someone fed you. You would have died if they hadn't. Now there may be 1 or 2 of you that have F parents, right? That a court has had to get involved and take you away from their lack of care. Okay? I am so sorry that that happened to you. But someone kept you alive to that point. Maybe not the person that was supposed to. And someone has kept you alive since that point. And there are people over you who now are trying to protect you and to put together a better situation for you than you'd have with an F parent. Right? You understand what I'm saying? So again, Luther, in his colorful way, right? Somebody fed you and reared you, and without those people, you would have choked 100 times over in your own filth, in your own poop. Right? Someone made sure you didn't drown in your own poop. And so you honor that person. And you'll never be able to repay them. Ever. You'll never be able to repay God. You'll never be able to repay your teachers that are giving you the tools that you need to go forward into life and be successful. So a little gratitude and a lot of awareness would be good in school and at home. The more and more you practice this, the stronger you get in these things, the stronger and better you're going to be. The more people in authority are going to want to shelter and guide and protect and feed you, right? They're human beings, right? That if you're pecking at them and complaining and kicking their ankles all the time, they're going to do their jobs because they have a responsibility before God to do their jobs. But you know, if you're the baby bird with your mouth open and you just want to learn and you just want to grow and you want everything that they have for you, suddenly taking care of you becomes a pleasure. And you're going to get more care. It doesn't, it's just the way it is, right? So what I'm saying here is that your job right now, one of your developmental tasks, and you have many of them, right? You're growing into your body, you're growing into your skill set, you're learning how to manage relationships with all kinds of different classes and sorts of people. But this is really an important skill set that you need to be working on. These are the skills that make for a harmonious world, a world where it works together, right? Now, we'll finish this point in a second, but I need to give you more words of the phrase that pays. Right? Here are 8 more words. Ready? He does not avail himself of an angel. It means he doesn't use an angel. But the words you need to write, he does not avail himself of an angel. An angel is, or avail is A-V-A-I-L. An angel is A-N-G-E-L. Don't write angle, A-N-G-L-E. That's wrong, right? So here's 8 words. He does not avail himself of an angel. You should be up to 17 total words now in the phrase that pays. So you're practicing the skills that make for a harmonious world. If you learn to recognize appropriate authority, if you learn to honor appropriate authority, if you learn how to deal with inappropriate authority and how to protect yourself from abusive authority, the world is better. And the more of us that do this, the better the world is. And the more of us that practice it, the better the world is. Right now, we're living in a spot in our culture, in our time, where we got real problems with people in authority wrongfully using their authority, and we have a real problem with people who are under authority refusing to honor legitimate authority. And those two things, either one of them, can take you off the rails. We got both of them going at the same time. We need the people of God to learn to recognize and honor appropriate authority, and to insist that those who have authority over us exercise that authority rightly. And that is a huge deal. And there's very little I can think of societally that we need to work on more than that. So if you get good at this, you'll be part of the solution instead part of the problem. And one of the ways to think about this I learned from my brother. My brother was in the Army, and he taught me about saluting the uniform. You know, when someone of higher rank approaches you, you're supposed to salute them. And it's difficult sometimes because you know this person of higher rank is dumber than you. This person of higher rank is confused about what needs to happen, is wrong about how it should happen, is a terrible manager. I mean, whatever it is, right? That you don't want to salute them, but you salute their uniform. That the uniform says Lieutenant Colonel. And so that's what gets saluted. You salute the uniform, and the person in the uniform, they may think it's for them. If they're smart, the lieutenant colonel knows that you're saluting the uniform. And the smart lieutenant colonel knows that he better do his job right, because that can be taken away, right? That there's people above him, right? Full bird colonels and up who are watching him, and that he's part of a chain. And he knows, she knows, that you're saluting the uniform. And she's going to do her absolute best to grow into that uniform and to be worthy of that salute. That is cool when that happens. But if it doesn't happen, you're still in the right. You're still protecting yourself from discipline. You're still learning and growing about saluting the uniform. And there might come a time in your life where you have the opportunity to deal with this person who's wrongfully used his or her authority, right? But that won't happen if you don't learn to salute the uniform, right? So there are days, I know there are days when I'm crabby, or when the sermon that I give is not the best sermon you ever heard, right? But you still salute the uniform. Not because I'm puzzled by it or because I think I'm so great. I don't think I'm so great, right? And I know that in the last 6 months I'm substantially weaker than I've ever been in my adult life. I know that, right? But for you to salute the uniform, to honor me as your pastor, to think about what I say, to try to practice what I encourage, right? This is a good thing for you. And on days when I didn't do a good job, it is tremendously humbling for me. And it makes me want to be a better pastor, right? Your parents mess up sometimes. They say stuff in a way that they wish they hadn't have said it. And if you are working, and I'm not talking about taking abuse, right? Have I been clear enough about that? Right? If you're being abused, I will help you get out of that situation. But your parents are having a bad day and they're snippy, right? Or they say something that's kind of cutting, right? Kind of cruel even, right? That you salute the uniform, and even though they said, you're a pig, you're always a pig, you never ever clean anything, I'm so tired of you, right? That's not good parenting. It's not. But you go and you clean your room and you say, I'm sorry that I'm not keeping up with what I should do. My guess is your parents already feel bad about saying you were a pig. And if you salute the uniform, they're going to want to grow into their uniform. They're going to want to be stronger and better. They're going to want to encourage you to learn basic self-care without calling you names, right? And again, some of that's cultural. It gets very, very confusing. But saluting the uniform, as long as what's being asked of you is not abusive, criminal, dangerous, helps you grow. and actually helps the person that you're honoring become more who they're supposed to be. Okay? So what are we commanded to do? Right? That we're not supposed to despise or anger our parents. And we're supposed to be practicing gratitude. We're supposed to be learning the skills to build a harmonious world. What are we commanded to do with people in authority? Teachers, police officers, administrators, judges, parents, grandparents, neighbors, pastors. How are we supposed to live? We're supposed to honor, serve, obey, love, and respect them. Right? These are all things you can do. These are all things you know how to do. Right? You want to have some fun with your teacher? When she says, I expect you to do better than this, say, yes, ma'am, I'm sorry, I will try to do better. And then try to do better. She doesn't get that very much, right? She gets a lot of eye rolling and people shuffling their feet and looking at the ground and going home and telling their parents what a monster she is. And then parents call in and yell at the principal, who then calls and yells at the teacher. Don't do that, right? Honor your teacher. She's there to help you. Nobody goes into teaching to hurt children, right? And you make decent money as a teacher, but no one goes into teaching to get rich, period, right? So they're there to try to help. At least that's how it was when they started. They might have had terrible administration and fighting with students and parents, and they might be very tired and very sad. But when they started, they were there to help and to make a difference in young people's lives. And if you can remember that, if you can honor that, it might start to bloom again in the most tired, cynical teacher. You honor the people authority, right? When a policeman talks to you, you call him sir or call her ma'am, right? You answer questions. You do what you're supposed to do. You obey their lawful instructions. You're supposed to serve the people in authority, right? One of the things that we talk about at our house is the kids shouldn't be sitting while adults are working. Do you understand? That if your parents are doing the dishes or fixing something or washing clothes, if you're sitting on the couch watching YouTube shorts, that ain't right. Why would you imagine that they should be working after they did their job, that they should be working while you sit? Now, if you're doing homework, great, right? One's doing dishes, one's fixing the door in the garage, and one is doing, algebra. Fine. But if you're messing around while the adults in your house are working, no. And, when you go to Thanksgiving and Grandma is bustling, with her heart arrhythmia and her bad eyes and her bad feet, and you're just sitting doing nothing, come on. Get up. Help Grandma. Work on setting the table. Fold the napkins. If everything's ready for the meal, look around Grandma's house and see if there's something that needs to be picked up so that Grandma doesn't trip over it. Right? See if something needs to be moved. If you notice that a door is squeaking, make a note on your phone and tell your folks when you get home so the next Saturday someone can go over there and fix Grandma's door. Right? You can do this. And it's part of your job to learn to serve those in authority over you. It's also part of your job to serve those under you. Right? Jesus is very, very clear about all of this. Sorry, I thought I turned that off. Right? Jesus is very, very clear that you and I are to be growing in service, that the one who's great among you will be the servant of all. Right? You can do this. You're also called to obey those in authority over you. We've been talking around this the whole time. And to love them. What would it mean to love your teachers? What would it mean to love your pastor? To love the custodians at school? To love the administration? Right? I mean, you have affection, deep love and affection for your parents and for your grandparents. But love isn't just that sort of warm affection. It is also wanting the best for these people and thinking the best of these people. Right? What would it be to go through life trying to cultivate love, and the next one, respect, for all the people who have legitimate authority over you? Right? It is really easy to light people on fire and to destroy their reputations, to say bad things, to laugh about their idiosyncrasies. I got a lot of idiosyncrasies, stuff that I do that's weird. Right? For a while there, when I was doing preaching without notes, I'd close my eyes and rock And I wasn't aware of it, but other people were aware of it, and most people were very kind and very gentle, with me, right? It was just sort of amusing, and what was going on is that it helped me remember what I was going to say next without being distracted by people's faces. And someone took a video of me, and I looked at it, and I thought, oh, dear goodness, that's not how I want to be doing it, right? And now, I use a manuscript for preaching for different reasons. We can talk about that too. But people were very gentle, people were loving, people were respectful, right? Instead of making me feel bad when I was doing something kind of weird. You got teachers that do weird stuff, right? You got teachers that have some strange personal habits. I don't care. You shouldn't care. When you get partnered off sometime in your life, he or she is going to have some strange personal habits. I guarantee it, right? Stuff that's not going to show up while you're dating. That most of us, when we get married, when we get partnered, we think to ourselves, who are you and what did you do with that other person? But you learn to love and respect the whole person, right? And your job right now as a young person is to be learning this skill set, and you learn it by practicing, right? When you're learning a sport, there are films, there are conversations, but then there's practicing where you go out and do the stuff, and you're supposed to be doing honor, service, obedience, love, and respect for this whole cloud of people that makes your life possible, right? When was the last time you thanked a military veteran for their service? When was the last time you thanked one of the road guys for helping patch the road? Or the mail delivery person for bringing you your mail? Or the Amazon person? When was the last time you even noticed all these people who are working to make your life possible? Next three words of the phrase that pays: but of parents. But of parents. And that's three words. You should be up to 20 total now. What's forbidden? To despise our parents, right? To hate them, to think about all the stuff they're doing wrong, to fill ourselves with complaints, right? And again, not just our parents, but everyone who's rightly exercising authority over us, right? Your coach might not be the best coach. You know why your coach is doing it? Because no one else would. How about honoring that person? How about being grateful for that person? Yeah, they don't know much, right, about that sport. Right? They know this much more than you. But that's something, and that they're there so that the sport can happen is big, and that they're trying to help even though they know they're inadequate to the task is huge. As long as your coach isn't hurting you or hurting anyone else and abusing their authority, don't despise them. Don't make fun of them. Don't belittle them. Don't criticize them. Right? If they knew more, they'd do better. When you're an adult and your kid has a bad coach, be part of the solution. If you know more, volunteer to help the coach. Talk to the coach privately and say, is there anything I can do to help you with this skill set? I'm so grateful that you're in my kid's life. I'm so grateful that you're taking this on when no one else would. How can I help you be the coach you want to be? You'd be lucky if the person doesn't grab a hold of you and sob. Because they know, right? We're working on being a different kind of person. So don't despise anyone who's rightfully exercising authority over you. Don't anger your parents. Now, there are parents with anger problems. There have been chapters in my life where I had anger problems. There have been days in my life still where I'm more angry than I should be. There are times where I say things I wish I hadn't said, right? Like every other person on the planet. But if you're living your life full of ingratitude and rebellion and bad attitude, why would you do that to your parents who gave you life, who kept you fed, who changed your diapers, who love you more than anyone else will ever love you and ask less than anyone else will ever ask, right? There's no comparison that no one else will ever do as much for you and ask for as little in return as your parents have done for you. You will never get to the end of repaying them for that, no matter what you do, right? So don't anger them, right? If you're in the middle of something with them, try to see their point. Try to think the best of them. Try to do what you know you're supposed to do without them having to say it, right? We talked about this on Wednesday, that death by lecture is no fun for you, but it's even less fun for us, We hate it. We hate it. We would love if you just did your stuff, if you just grew into who you're supposed to be, if we could just be the happy, fun parent. We would love that. Right? So this applies to everyone who has authority over us. I've made that abundantly clear. Right? Next three words of the phrase that pays, or the pastor. Or the pastor. So you should be up to 23 words total now. Right? Now, it's interesting that this is the only one of the 10 commandments that has a promise connected with it. Right? God says, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy, but there's no promise connected with it. Here we got a promise that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God gives to you. Right? That our days may be long in the land that the Lord our God gives to us. As we learn, as we practice rightful obedience and gratitude and grace and forgiveness and awareness and peace, we change the path of our lives. Right? As you learn to live like this, to honor people in rightful authority, to recognize rightful authority from bad authority, to deal appropriately with both, as you learn and grow into that and then have a proper authority over the people under you, right? It changes the whole trajectory, the whole path of your life. Your life could go this way, or it could go that way. And it gets better and better as you learn this, right? And as you learn it, your family's trajectory changes. As you practice it, your family's trajectory, path, end changes, right? You do this for some generations in a row, a family winds up here instead of here. You understand? Now, a couple of things to say just to make sure you understand. This is influenced by life stages. What obedience, in interacting with your parents looks like when you're 4 is different than when you're 16, is different than when you're 47. Right? That it's different. And you just need to be aware that it's different. And those of you who are 14, 15, 16, fine, have a red circle on your calendar that I'm moving out of this house in, 2 years, 8 months, and 14 days. Fine. For those 2 years, 8 months, and 14 days, honor your parents. Learn everything you can from them. Learn who you want to be, learn who you don't want to be. Learn where they're weak, where they're scared, where they need support. Your parents are scared, weak, and need support in some areas. Give it to them. Practice. And then, when you're out on your own, obedience looks different, honor looks different, respect looks different. Right? With my adult children now, it is almost, it's not unrecognizable. I mean, I can see the string from when they were little till now. But how we talk and how I advise them and when I stay quiet and when I open my mouth is very different than when they were 4 or 12 or 16 or 21 still spending my money. Right? So life stages matter here. And it matters as you go on, as your grandparents enter a period of weakness that may or may not include dementia, as your parents enter different stages of weakness and vulnerability that may or may not include dementia, right? Honor and respect and obedience looks different, right? I mean, you may have responsibility for a parent or a grandparent sometime that wants to still drive, and you and your family have decided that grandpa can't drive anymore, and grandpa may say, "Give me my keys." No. That sometimes honoring someone is not doing what they ask if what they ask is wrong. Again, rightful authority, right? If someone asks you to commit a crime, no. But here, if the person asking doesn't have the capacity to make the right choice or to ask the right thing, honoring doesn't mean you do the wrong thing or the dangerous thing. All right, honoring your parents or those in authority also doesn't mean blind obedience. You don't just do what you're told, right? If what you're told is wrong, you don't do it. That you honor, and this is in the military too. I mean, the military has a full, rich, vibrant tradition you're to follow legitimate or lawful orders. You are not to follow illegitimate or unlawful orders, right? If your commander says, "Let's go shoot up that school," right? You're engaged in a military campaign. You're in enemy territory, and your commander says, "Hey, let's go kill those kids in that school." No, you arrest your commander at that point, turn them over to lawful authority, and you go back to doing what you're supposed to do under the laws of warfare. Warfare has laws. There are things that are allowed and things that are not allowed, right? So honor doesn't mean blind obedience. It means recognizing rightful authority from and contrasting that with unlawful or unright, that's inelegant, sorry, authority. You honor people by doing the right thing and helping them be properly seated in their authority, in their station, in their office. Next four words, or of our neighbor, or of our neighbor. You should be up to 27 words now. Now, there are going to be people in authority over you who do a terrible job, who misuse their position, who misuse their authority. If your life or your safety is in danger, you run from them, right? If it's in your family, I am so sorry. I will help you with my last breath find a place of safety, right? If you have teachers who are abusive, if there are police officers who are abusing their authority, shaking people down, stealing money from people, accusing people of things they didn't do, planting evidence, right? You resist that with every fiber of your being, right? And know that Luther says that God is watching that too, and that God is going to pound on those people. That the parents that abuse their children, the police officers that are doing kickbacks and planting evidence, the teachers that are making life intentionally hard for someone in their class or in their authority, right? Who enjoy being cruel. Luther, in the Large Catechism, which again, I will get you, or you can get online for free, Luther makes fearsome threats of punishment. That God is going to knock you around if you misuse your offices of authority, or if you're a parent that doesn't pour yourself out for your kids. Right? If you misuse your kids, there's a day of judgment for you. Right? If you're a politician and you misuse your office for your own gain, right? You burn down the country just so that you get rich or that you get powerful. God's waiting at the end of that road, and he's waiting with a big, big stick. Right? So I'm not going to drag you through the Large Catechism, but it's fun. Go read the Large Catechism, explanation of the fourth commandment, honor your father and mother, right? And see what you think. Again, you can get it online for free, or I'll give you a paper one if you want it. The end of the phrase that pays, Martin Luther. It's a Luther quote. Those are two words right there, Martin and Luther, not Martin Luther King Jr. And you should be up to 29 words total. So that's it for the fourth commandment. There is so much there to talk about. Right? Put your name on your homework. Be neat, right? Again, fire the chicken or whoever you've had doing your homework up till now. Do your daily Bible readings. Do not wait till the end of the year. You will hate that. Get them done day by day. And I look forward to seeing you Wednesday. God bless you. Bye-bye.